This podcast provides a platform for our guests to share their experiences and inspire our listeners to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. As you listen, we invite you to explore how these concepts apply to your own story. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful. We're mic'd up with Mike DiCioccio. Hey guys, I'm bringing you a special guest today, someone who is held in high regard in Western New York, a man who comes with a tremendous family legacy. He's an active leader in the community, helping raise money for charities such as Children's Hospital and People, Inc. You can see him at his award-winning authentic Italian family restaurant because he is there greeting guests with his brother and other family members as well, where his guests are treated like family. He is the son of the late, great Hall of Fame wrestling legend and original restaurant owner, Ilio DiPaolo, a man who is celebrated for both his talent in the ring and his world-class Italian restaurant. It's my honor to welcome to the show, Dennis DiPaolo.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate the kind words and the introduction. I appreciate it. But it's truly my honor to be on your show. You've been referred to and by a good friend, John, to be on your podcast. And you've been a great reputation. And thank you very much. Besides a fellow Paisan, we love
it. Yeah, I mean, it's always great to have a Paisan. And we have about 30 minutes here. I know we're going to get through like 2 questions and it's going to be over because we're going to start talking about all of our similarities. And we were doing that off camera. Anyone who's tuning in, thank you for being here. Again, Dennis DiPaolo, his restaurant, Ilio DiPaolo, is named after his father. It's just fantastic. I just want to give a quick shout out. I got food there for my family for Mother's Day. My mom was just thrilled. She didn't have to cook, obviously. And it was also as we're recording this, we're still in phase 4 of the quarantine and COVID-19. So I wanted to thank you guys for handling it on a busy weekend. It was top world class. I mean, I pulled in and it was waiting for me ready. And you guys were busy. So you handled it really well. Just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Quick shout out, Jonathan Massalinas. I know you're listening because you told me to send you the link. Great friend of both of ours. And he's a wrestling fan as well, which ties in the connection to you and wrestling and your father. So we want to go down there as well. But John, thank you so much for the connection here. And what I want to do is let everyone know they can visit your family website, iliodipaolos.com. It's that simple. ILIODIPAOLOS.com. Also on Instagram and Facebook, it's Ilio DiPaolo's Restaurant. If you just put the @Ilio DiPaolo's Restaurant, you'll find it. Let's start right with your father's legacy, and then we're going to shine light on your handprint that is largely on the restaurant today, and it's been for many decades, right? So if you were to define your father in a few words, what would they be?
It was we did our book was Big Hands with a Big Heart. Everybody when they remember Ilio, gosh, he used to pick my kid up and take him around the restaurant, and the hands, he'd shake a hand and they'd go, "What happened to my hand?" So his big hands, but then also he was recognized with his big heart and always being able to. He was so grateful for the blessing that being in America was meant for him and people, the fans, and so he was always grateful for that, and he wanted to give back. And he said, as Dennis has become, the more successful you become, the more you give back as a sign of gratitude. And that's kind of how we've been operating through the Ilio DiPaolo Scholarship Fund and through our restaurant. So that's when you endear yourself to the entire community. And we're so proud. It's our 55th anniversary. What a year, huh?
2020, man. It's been a lousy year for a lot of reasons, but you just used a word that I use a lot. I like to say, be great and be grateful. And it means exactly what your father said, that the greater you are, the more grateful you are. And you're doing things for the greater good of mankind, really helping your friends and neighbors. Your restaurant does that. You do it through charities, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Is there anything else you want to mention? So I know Children's Hospital, People, Inc. You guys are doing a ton, right?
So Father always said to reward those for our future leaders of tomorrow who deserve and support those in need and through the entire community. So, I mean, there's endless amount of people that we give back to. And again, the mentally disadvantaged has always been a key part, especially in professional wrestling, where they always my father used to say that when they close their eyes and they would dream about being Ilio DiPaolo, dream about the heroes, Bruno Sammartino, Dominic DeNucci. Those were the things. So we've always been endeared to the disadvantaged, especially. But, those in need in our community, we're out to help everyone.
Yeah. Now, I want to say, you mentioned obviously America. Your family's from Italy. We just discovered this off camera too. Abruzzi, which is a region of Italy, and then I
Right.
mentioned Prato La Polina, which is where my
Right.
family originates from, and that's around the corner from you guys. But there's
Yes.
something else I want to add to the whole thing that's pretty interesting. So you guys moved, or I should say, your father really in '49 moved to Venezuela, and then
Yes.
from there to Buffalo, New York, and kind of
Right.
hopped around a little bit in between. My family did the same move from Italy to Venezuela. So something must have been said at the time that that was kind of a place to escape to start to,
Right.
from there, hop to America. And in 51, when you guys or your family moved from there to Buffalo, 51 is the year my dad was born in Venezuela while they were making that
Oh,
transition.
really? Wow.
So
Oh,
pretty
pretty cool.
neat there too. And I know we have DiPaolos in the family. So what I'd like to do is maybe I can get into the restaurant with my dad, and you guys can chat for a minute, because I bet you
Oh,
there's a lot more in common there as well. Here's what's
oops.
interesting, guys. You may know Ilio DiPaolo's restaurant, 55 years of a great family legacy. Did you know before that all happened, it was a pizzeria, right? So Ilio, an entrepreneurial guy, and he even ran, from what I read on Ilio, the way he wrestled all over the world. He took advantage of opportunities in a good way, where when they
Mhm.
presented themselves, he would go and do it. And so he had an opportunity to start a pizzeria. Why don't you tell us about that, and then how it actually transitions into the restaurant?
Yeah.
I'd love to
Very
hear it.
well. It was very. The goals in life were very simple. Growing up in Italy during the war, I mean, they were always hungry. There was enough food for Italy wasn't like Italy is today. So then when they migrated to come to America, many went through Canada, many went through Venezuela.
Mm,
And when my father did it, his dream when he got done professional wrestling was to have a restaurant the best way that he knew how, to never be hungry again like he was in Italy. And
wow.
that's how it, and then we actually in Lackawanna, our first restaurant burned down. It was a pizzeria.
Yeah.
63. That's when my father and the destroyer went back to Japan, so my father could make money to come back and
Hmm.
hopefully open up another restaurant. And lo and behold, a gentleman, George Taylor, in Blaisdell, or just over the bridge, said, "Hey, Ilo, you want to get back in the pizzeria business?" My father said, "I'd love to."
Hmm.
And with a handshake, he said, "Well, then you can start paying me once you open up." I mean, and then he went to the bank and they said, "Ilya, what do you got as collateral?" He goes, "Well, I live in a trailer park here in Van Wyck and Lackawanna, and I got
Yeah.
a Cadillac, you know." And they go, "Okay, here's your collateral, popular name. We know you'll be good for the payments." And that's how
Wow.
it all started. And, talk about doing business.
Yeah.
That handshake meant so much.
Different world today, but at the same time, that just goes to show how much respect he did have even before there's a lot of family respect with the restaurant for sure, because it's been such a success. I said at the top of the show, award winning. I did my homework on it. It's won
Yeah,
numerous awards. If you go to, I think I was on tripadvisor.com, it's the number one out of 20 restaurants listed in the area.
yeah.
So,
Thank you.
for Italian restaurants. So and I can vouch for it as well. But aside from that, the wrestling career your dad had, and also even more importantly than a successful restaurant and a Hall of Fame wrestling career, it's the man that he was. That I unfortunately, I was born in '86 and your dad passed away in '95, right? So I didn't know him or see him very much at the restaurant. A couple times, so I definitely remember him being there when I was
Yeah.
young. But he is known for his integrity and the man that he was, and I think that's what makes the whole story so special.
Well, thank you. Yeah, he
Yeah.
liked. I mean, that was what he. We always felt. Be proud of who you are, and move on from there and be successful and carry yourself well. And when he would say to me, wave his big hand and say, "Be home 11 o'clock," I was home at a quarter two, so I wasn't taking
Mhm.
any chance growing up. So
Here's the thing that yeah, it's unbelievable though when you think that was 25 years ago now that he
yeah,
had passed. And
wow.
speaking of passing, he passed the torch to yourself first, and then you have a younger brother, Michael, right? He's younger.
Michael, my
Yeah.
sister, and our entire family. Now my son
Mhm.
Ilio is now moved into the third generation, saying he
Yeah.
wants to be involved. I said, "Well, good kid. Guess what? Your weekends are now Monday and Tuesday. So
Yeah.
you know, owning a
Right.
restaurant world is a lifestyle.
You
So
got to grind it out when your clients are there. It's the same thing
oh,
for most entrepreneurs. Not everyone has the same weekend necessarily as their busiest day, but there's always going to be a day when you got to
right.
be in the office, and that happens to be Friday night, Saturday all day, and Sunday after church.
You
You
got it
guys
right.
open on Sunday?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You
you
got
got to
that
have family dinner on Sunday, right?
family dinner.
But but with that being said, 25 years ago, right? the restaurant's has done as well, if not continued to grow since, right? And it's because of yourself, your brother, you mentioned your sister and your entire family, and now Ilio, the third generation. Right. If your father was here today to look back on the last 25 years, what do you think he'd be most proud of?
I'd be proud of him, how the entire community has rallied around him. I mean, just the development of the scholarship fund. When he passed away, the Buffalo Bills came over, led by Bud Carpenter and Jim Kelly, and they come over and said, "Hey, Dennis, your father's work's just started." I said, "What do you mean?" They go, "We're gonna start a scholarship fund." Now, 25 years ago, foundations, scholarship charitable organizations were not popular. I mean,
right.
But so
it wasn't like a buzzword like today where people just want to throw their name next to a charity.
501(c)(3), nobody even knew what that was 25 years ago. But Joe, led by Joe Shaw and them, that they said, "Okay, we're going to start this up." And in the community, we've given out over $1.2 million back into our community through the Ilio DiPaolo Scholarship Fund alone, through scholarships and through helping out the charitable groups and those that deserve and those that need. But that I think he'd be the most proud of, is that how upon his death, that not only did the restaurant grow, but his community-based organization helping out the people that really rallied behind him has grown to beyond belief. He'd be so happy just giving a kid a free pizza. Hey, good job, come by.
Let me make sure that and Dennis is being extremely humble right now, both for himself and his family and his dad as well. And I have this in my notes too. Hall of Fame quarterback Jim Kelly, Bud Carpenter he was a trainer, I believe.
Yeah, right.
And then also Randy Ribick. I don't recognize Randy as much.
Was with the trainer with them also. Yeah.
We're not talking about just a couple kids going off for school here that didn't have the means. We're talking about $1 million.
Right. Yeah, it's been unbelievable over 25 years. With much of the money we raised was when WWE and WC with the WCW. Remember with all the pro wrestlers, Hulk Hogan and Diamond Dallas Page, and then when they would come in. When we closed off the auditorium that night, the last sporting event in the Odd was pro wrestling. We did the event in 1996. And
did those guys join? Did they come hang out at the restaurant? Hulk Hogan and
close to this day. I mean, very close to them all this day. The Nasty Boys and guys. It's pretty cool. Macho Man and his father, and we have a lot of tiebacks. Actually, the father was the godfather to Lanny Poffo, which was Macho brother. So which is how that whole wrestling connection. My father with The Rock, and my father wrestled back with his father back in the days, and so that connection, pro wrestling, that my father used to call it the bond of the ring, was always very close, and they supported us tremendously, and that's when we raised most of our money with them.
Really awesome. They call themselves the boys, right? The boys are getting together. Yeah.
You got it.
We got these 300-pound massive men, and the boys are getting together. It's cool. Yeah, I definitely can tell. I recently saw an interview with The Undertaker too. His real name is Mark Callahan, I believe it is. And do you know Mark too? Did I ever talk to him?
Met him, yeah. But actually, our man just hooks us up, so he's the man.
Yeah, he had a tremendous career too. I mean, you can put him up against anybody, really. Hulk Hogan was always our favorite growing up. I say I'm talking about my brother and I. We're 2 years apart, so as kids, Hulk Hogan. I mean, I'm a late '80s kid and early '90s. He was just on top of the world. So I was more that generation. I know your dad's wrestling generation was kind of what set it up for these guys, which is really cool. Sure. So do you have moments growing up as a kid? Did you get to experience watching your dad wrestle? And then did he kind of take you around to meet these guys? Can you talk a little bit about some of those fond memories you have growing up?
Well, I was very lucky and fortunate. My father, we lived in the back of a car for years. I mean, we settled in Buffalo, and it came time for me to, like my father said, "You remember living in Australia?" I go, "How old?" I was 2 years old, but he's got me pictures on the beach, and a lot of Italian population there. But we traveled all over. But my father said, he told my mother, pick a town where we want to raise our family. And I was being the oldest, that, I was going to, once I became school age of 5 years old, he said, pick a city, pick a town. And that's where my mother and my father said, okay, Buffalo's where we're going to stay. Very good. The people treated us the best here. And that's where we made home here. And, so at that point, then I still traveled with my father up until I was 10 years old. The big thing was always when we were traveling, I could get anybody into the back door as long as they put their hand in my father's suitcase. So I'd tell everybody, come on, you guys, meet me there at the back door. I them up 10 of my friends. We'd all get into the arena together and run around. And I think we owned the place. But
The
those are
owners
great.
are going, how many bags has Ilio got? We just had 6 guys coming with a bag in their hand saying that they're with Ilio.
I was a popular kid in school come Friday night. Everybody wanted to go to the matches with Dennis. Yeah. So, but it was pretty cool traveling up to Canada and all throughout Cleveland, Ohio, Akron. And, it was just, it was pretty remarkable to see. And some great matches, we could talk about with Sweet Daddy Siki and some with the Tolis brothers and all up in Hamilton. And some memorable matches where, my father's bleeding, the ring fell apart and the blood's pouring over his head. And we get to the Peace Bridge after the match. And this was near the end of my father's career when my mother was like, it's time for you to retire, Leo, and get out and just work on the restaurant. And, but he was so popular. He was drawn very well where he was main event, at night. So after the match with Sweet Daddy Siki, the blood was pouring out. They said, Ilio, we need to get you to the hospital. And this one is, come on, I got to get my son to school tomorrow. We got to,
patch it up. We got to patch it up. Life goes on. Yeah.
Let's go. And all the way home, I had the towel on his forehead. But needless to say, after the match, the blood's flowing, everything, he's still going. By the time we got to the Peace Bridge, they looked in the car and they said, oh, my God, Ilio, get going, get on home. And I realized, I'm holding a thing on his hand. Well, we sped home. My mother got there. I said, Mom, Dad's bleeding. You got to see it. She come out. She beat the heck out of my father for, what are you doing?
For allowing that to happen, yeah.
Under the matches, no more. That's it. You got to get out of the ring now. So, but it was just one of those, things that you remember, like, oh, my God, you didn't realize. And then when the lights were on, it's like, holy geez, Dad, you were bleeding all over our clothes and everything else. It's just,
And this, we're not talking about it was set up where I know there are some matches that involve blood that were kind of set up to be that. He was those guys were wrestling. We're talking original moves, not, and look, I totally respect wrestling and what it's become. And I didn't necessarily like Vince McMahon growing up because he didn't seem like a likable guy. But now that I'm in business and reflect on wrestling as a business, I do respect the fact that he turned it into something that was kind of originally an outside sport and brought it into the main lights.
Yes.
You got to say Vince did a better job than anybody. But I just want to say your dad wrestling in that moment, when he decided to finally retire, his last few matches, it's not that he was getting defeated and had to kind of hang up his boots. They were all draws. So even when he was kind of considered at the end of his career, the best of the best couldn't beat him. They were just drawn with him, right?
Yeah, it was something else. They're trying to pass the torch, like the Dominic DeNucci was trying to make his way up. But there's a lot of history and stories. We could go on for hours with following up on history with Dominic and Bruno and how the next generation was coming up, and then my father was moving out. So, but it was an interesting time. But Vince McMahon did the wrestling the right thing when he called it World Wrestling Entertainment. And then he kind of split the generations, which was great. And all people like my father, the Destroyer, Bruno, and all of them said, "You're right. We were the wrestlers, the true wrestlers that would feed off the heat of the crowd by the moves that they did and that kind of stuff and everything." And then when got to be WWE, he went more for entertainment and ratings, and they said, "Okay, you separated who we are," and it's so two different sports altogether. If you want to talk it that way, so pretty cool.
Total respect for that as well. You talked about some wrestlers coming through when they were in town and some names that piqued my interest. But you're, again, anyone tuning in that maybe isn't local here, you see I have the Buffalo Bills Mafia is what our fan base is referred to as. Anyone who doesn't understand that, I ask you to go check out Del Reed in 26 shirts because there's great meaning behind it. But just down the road from One Bills Drive, which is where New Era Field is and the Buffalo Bills play. And hopefully we have a season coming up because, again, right now we're still in the middle of COVID. But it's not, let me flip it. It's very common for Buffalo Bills to come in as regulars and say hello and stop in and bring their families and other players with them, right? Tell us about that. Do you have a moment that was like just a really cool Buffalo Bills story that kind of comes up in conversation you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, it's always one. I think I go back to Jim Kelly, that type of thing. When Jim came to town, everybody's Jim Kelly. Like that. So he showed up on a Saturday night, and I'm in the back and working. My father's up front, and so he comes up Saturday night, busy, people waiting. He comes in with 10 people, tells the girl, "Hey, 10 of us, make room for us." So the girl doesn't know what to do. He's standing there expecting to be seated right away. All these people are waiting. It's just like. So my father goes up, and I said, and I'm in the back. He goes up and says, "Hey, Kumbar, come here." So he puts his arm around Jim Kelly. He goes, "Hey, Jim, Kumbar, you know, you ought to just welcome to Buffalo, but you ought to just like the rest of these people. You know what? They make a reservation, they call, and you got to wait your turn.
Wow.
So everybody's the same, you know, and that's where the word kumbari, my father always would go, hey, kumbar, right? Kumbari, right? It's just all equal family. That's what it is. He said, you're my kumbad, welcome to Buffalo. You're going to love it here. And to that day, I mean, Jim, even just the other day, Saturday, he was picking up food to take down to the lodge, lasagna, and he was running 15 minutes late. He calls. Dennis, we'll be there 4:15 instead of 4 to pick up the lasagna. I go, that's good. So that triggers that story back then because my father always taught him that. You know, after that, you call him, hey, you know what, you know better than anybody else, Jim Kelly or not. You wait like everybody else. And it was kind of that respect. And him and my father, I mean, you know, we got along. We've been best of friends. I stood up in his wedding and everything else. It's just kind of been best friends over 35 years. It's just been a great relationship, and you know, part of the family, no doubt.
That I love hearing that, and yeah, I definitely feel that Jim needed to experience Western New York first before he understood it, because he got drafted. He was in the '83 class, right?
Yeah,
And I mean, he was shown crying and didn't want to come to Buffalo. Buffalo wasn't, let's call it what it is. It wasn't a sexy place to go to. Technically, today it's really not necessarily, but they didn't have a winning culture already. And this guy was a fantastic player, so I guess you can understand where he's coming from. But once he went and he played in another league, and then comes to Buffalo later on, has the Super Bowl runs and is a local hero now. It takes experiencing Western New York to really understand what's most beautiful about it. I know my reasons for loving it here and living here, not only family, but there's many other reasons. Can you explain to anyone who's listening who doesn't understand, maybe they haven't visited for an extended time, what makes Western New York so special?
Well, you know, the thing of it is, and you talk to Eric Wood and all these young football players and people that come into town, the athletes, it's like Buffalo is the one place, Sabres are all, it's one place you never want to come to. But once you get here, you never want to leave because it is family. It's that family feeling that attracted my father, you know, 50 years ago to be here. I mean, it's been the family. They embrace you, you know, and they're proud. And we're not, my father used to say, Buffalo is a very large town, small city. And what happens on one side of the town is going to spread to the other side of the town within minutes. And that's before social media. And it's so true because the people, when they love you, they love you. And I experienced it with my father. I mean, you know, Ilio, everywhere you went. I mean, you know, the rules are the rules, but hey, Ilio's here. Okay, come on, Kumbal, you know, and it always was, and that's the way they are with all people here in Buffalo. It's a city of great neighbors, and it surely is. And it's just not a term. It's a feeling when you are from here in Buffalo. And even if you're not originally from here, it catches you pretty quick. And then you're embraced by it. And I can tell you that and you could talk to many Sabres, many athletes, many people that, you know, aren't born here, but then they get here and they go, holy cow, this is home. And
it's an extended family feel. It really is. It's like, who do you know? So if I said, oh yeah, Dennis DiPaolo, like, you know, I mentioned, or Jonathan's the one who connected us, but you knew him and you respected him. So our first conversation was pretty smooth between you and I. And I've met you when I was younger at the restaurant, but you meet hundreds of people every week. So it wasn't like you know, there was some kind of built-in perception of who I am. But because of the mentality of Western New York, he vouched for me. And that's definitely an Italian thing too, is you like someone, you're gonna help them out. And that's what I love about Western New York is, you know, right here again, this started as a charity raising money for Roswell, which it still does, multiple charities. And it's the mindset of like, how can we all come together? I'll just say this too, again, for anyone tuning in who maybe didn't experience this moment, but the Buffalo Bills had a 17-year playoff drought. Okay. We felt every ache and pain that came with that drought. It took a 9-7 crazy season, the rockiest season that we've had, still pull off 9-7. It wasn't good enough to make the playoffs until Andy Dalton connects on a crazy pass. I forget if it was overtime or it was like the last play of the game, fourth quarter. I remember I was in the same room I'm in now, and I'm surprised there's not a hole in the ceiling here because I just levitated when it was Tyler Boyd, was it, that caught the touchdown pass and runs through a few defenders. We go nuts, right? And it took that season to really start to turn things around. But It's like, just what that meant for this community, how everybody just came together. The Buffalo Bills are kind of like a little brother who's getting beat up on the playground. You got to defend it. When you're from here, some people aren't into it as much as you and I are. But when you're from here, someone says something about the Bills, it's like everyone kind of perks up and says, "Excuse me, what's going on here?" Right? Got to defend our turf, and what it means to the community is absolutely huge.
Yeah. I mean, is there not a year we think we're going to make the playoffs? Every year we think we're going to make the playoffs. Absolutely.
Yeah. I will say this. I love what McDermott's doing and Brandon Beane. For once in a long time, I finally feel like not only is he executing on it, but he has a plan in place first, and then he does it. It's not just shooting darts, and once in a while we get a good player. He has a rhyme and reason for what he's doing, so I really love that too.
Absolutely.
Now, I didn't want to go I'm actually not happy we went 25 minutes in the conversation and I didn't bring up someone that's really important to the family here. There's a great saying, and I believe it to be true. The saying is, behind every successful man, there's a strong woman. Okay, we've been talking about Ilio quite a bit, your dad. Tell us more about your mother and what she means to the family.
Yeah, my mother, she's the glue. She's the glue of the family. I mean, she was, when my father was wrestling, even in the book and the story that they talk about is that when they were starting out and not a lot of, she would eat half a sandwich because my father didn't have enough money to, so he could eat more to keep his strength because they didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have anything. So she was the strength. She traveled all over the world with my father. I mean, we lived in the back of that car and, for 5 years traveling. And then that was the one that made it all happen, even through the restaurant business and raising the 4 kids. And, especially in the first years when he opened up the restaurant and was wrestling and trying to run a restaurant at the same time. I mean, I can't, as a kid, I can't even shake my head today what I go through. It can't be nothing what he was going through, So it was really, she's been she's 88 years old now. So she's still living in the same house with the bocce court, right? So, you got to have that. And still wondering, when are we having our bocce party again? I go, Ma, is it week? I go, no, we'll be over Labor Day. It's funny, but she's been the glue to the whole family and the strength that really has kept us all going. And we've been part of the tragic loss of my sister and my niece and all them. And then my father and all car accidents is like, she's been the one that's been solid. And, when you think about the pain that she's gone through, then the parent losing a child, let alone a grandchild, and then your husband, I mean, she's really been a remarkable lady. And I think that's where we get our strength from.
Yeah, that is something that when you go through your family story, it doesn't get left off. Would have been your aunt, or was it your sister that passed away young?
Yeah, Lisa, along with my little niece.
Lisa's your sister.
Yeah, Lisa was my sister. Yeah,
and then what? About 5 years later, your dad had the accident where it was a rainy day, right? And
it was going out. Yeah, it was kind of a thing. The lights went off in the restaurant, and I'll never forget. They were dishing a party, and the lights went out. And then the phone rang, and I thought it was a security company. I said, "Hello, how you doing?" "Yeah, we're getting the power back on." And they said, This is the police. We need you to get to the hospital right away." It was unbelievable. And the customers are still coming and go that were there that night when it happened. It was a busy night. And said that, it was like, holy cow. And they just booked their 44th anniversary trip to Hawaii. It was kind of just a surreal moment. And that's when I look back to what we've done with the scholarship fund and we've done in our community and being able to carry on for 55 years. And it's the spiritual help that the Lord has blessed us with and the prayers and this wonderful community of Western New York. And people, you always say this, but I've experienced it. So I know personally that what the strength this community has given us. Because, when my sister died, business dropped 50%. I mean, my father was worried. He goes, "Hey, you know what? Who wants, you just lost your daughter, you lost your granddaughter. I mean, who wants to come in a restaurant, right?" So everybody's, we got to be out in the community, show our strength. No crying out there. We got to be strong, and that's it. So, we got to get out. We got to get out there, show our strength, show the people it's good to come in. And then, I said, "God forbid if anything happens to you, Dad, we'll be out of business." And the opposite happened. When he passed away, the community came pouring in. 20% we increased. It's like, what? They go, "Dennis, you guys, you got to keep this place going. This is what your father dreamed. You got to keep it going." And that's helped us propel us to continue to grow to what we've become now too. And then, that was just like remarkable. And that was all a blessing from the Lord. And I said, the prayers, everybody came in and said, "Hey, we're praying for you. We're praying for you." I said, "You know what? It's strength in prayers, no doubt about it." So not to be all spiritual, but it is true on how this community prayed for us and helped us and really propelled us to the last 55 years.
I'll tell you what, you're at home here with, you can share your spirituality on my show. I mean, I believe in God, and I believe there in a purpose for that. And it's a devastating moment. You guys have gone through a lot of adversity in your family, from both Lisa, your father. I mean, your dad literally, you know, again, reading his story, living in a car, traveling around wrestling to build his career. He had an entrepreneurial mindset. He was just going to go all in on himself. And your mother supported him in doing that. And look what it turned into. So that right there, this show is all about, it's not only business owners and entrepreneurs, it could be athletes, musicians, whatever you are passionate about, something's tugging at your heart. Your father, it was wrestling. No one was going to tell him he's not going to have a wrestling career. He went and believed in himself and did it. With the pizzeria, the restaurant. You were passed the torch. How old were you when your dad passed away? 25 years ago. You were.
Yeah, I was 38. Yeah.
Yeah. So 38. I mean, not too young, not too old, but I mean, to run the restaurant and you, again, support your family with you.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, your responsibilities went from like here to like, you know, there, you know, as everybody did. And you handled it. You guys handled that really well. Something else we're dealing with right now with adversity, and we got to wrap up here with a couple more questions. We're in the middle of COVID-19 right now. Thankfully, it's towards what we consider the end in 4 phases. Restaurants open back up. You guys can operate at like 50% capacity. I know you're doing things internally to make it still work, right? What's most important is you had to pivot your focus to make sure that you're still producing income, right? But also keeping the health and well-being of your guests at the forefront. Can you just share real quick how you're balancing all that?
And, you know, not only that, it's your own family and your staff, the people who decide to stick with you. So it's been a great learning process, you know, washing your hands, wearing a mask at all times, keeping a social distance best you can. It's been a real learning process for everything, how to do the takeouts and been, you know, it's been a good thing, I think, for our community to be a lot of these basic things I think we need to do anyways. You know, the only problem is being Italian. It's tough to not hug and kiss everybody. So but
a lot of hug. Yeah, for sure.
What I mean. So, but it has been there. My brother,
you gotta make them feel like they're at home, right?
Absolutely. And
my brother, now it's all elbow bump, right? We went fist bump. Now it's elbow bump.
The elbow, exactly. So, but it's been a lot that we've been doing. So trying to get everybody, you know, keeping that social. Did my brother-in-law build barriers, you know, movable portable barriers, different things. So,
how are you doing with the tables? Is it just like every other table is dressed, ready to go, kind of thing?
About a third of the tables, and we've spaced them out more. And like I said, we built barriers. So, you know, with the booths and different things. So it's been, we have the banquet rooms, you open them up because not a lot of banquets going on at this point. So we've kind of opened them up. You know, we're blessed that we have a large facility there that we can use. So
talk about that real quick. Again, I know they're not able to really use banquets, or they're not because of coronavirus, but what, you know, anybody can be listening to this when it comes out, and hopefully, you know, reflecting on it for years to come. So it's not always going to be that the restaurant banquet is not at full capacity. So I want you to shine light on it, because that's a huge part of what you guys do really well. You have weddings, you have bridal showers, you name it. So talk about that side of it real quick too.
Memorials especially too. The banquet facility, the banquet rooms are part of the community, and that's what the people, when they need to get the family together with good or bad reason, you know, the celebration of life or the celebration of a family gathering, you know, they look to the banquet hall. So, I mean, and we have the place, and we have the room for it. And right now they're allowing us 50 people. So with distancing and stuff like that. So we look to be able to grow with that. Actually, we get off this call, I'll be on a Zoom call with Albany now, with the Caterers Council, as we go expand and do that type of thing. But I think as we become smarter and educated on how we keep the social distancing and how we wear a mask and, you know, sit down, that the banquets will be back big and strong, because, you know, let's face it, people want to get together, especially family, and enjoy those family moments. And, you know, whether you're Italian or not, I mean, celebrating together as a group is essential in our lifestyle. Yeah.
Well, it's Italian restaurant, but it truly is authentic. I can tell you. A lot of people always ask me my favorite Italian restaurants when they come to town, because if you couldn't tell by the schnoz and the eyebrows, I'm 100% Italian. And so I never have these great answers. I would send them to your restaurant, maybe 2 others that I know that I've been to that I like. But when you grew up Italian, now our experience is different because you had the restaurant. But for me, like, Italian food was mom made it. Grandma was rolling the meatballs, you know, like it was a production that everyone got together on Sunday for the Italian dinner, and you didn't go out to try someone else's Italian. You had it because everyone was prideful of their own. So I really was like, I don't know, if I'm eating great Italian food, it's happening at home. You want to come over on Sunday, you can experience it. hold on, I got to pitch it. I got to pitch it to my parents to make sure everything's going to be good. You don't just show up unannounced. So, but yeah. And so you guys have authentic food, because when I am there, it does feel like it's Sunday at home. It does. It truly does. Yeah. So, couple things, and then we'll wrap up here. And I like to say, as I mentioned, be great and be grateful. What are 3 things that you're most grateful for?
Oh, the blessing of our, my family, needless to say, and my, the friends that I've been blessed with, that I've grown up with here and in this Western New York community, and health. I mean, it's a blessing of good health, and that we've had to be able to carry on and do the traditions that my father's taught us and that our community has raised us in. So, those things that I really think that are essential. Taking care of your mind, body, soul is so true. So, that's really, really a blessing there that we have, and we can share with others. So, and it gives back, and it all comes back around, and so that's even being on your show and meeting, I feel as I've met my new lifelong friend here now. So probably I'll put Italy next year, so you're gonna have to join us. So
I was gonna say, I would like to. We would have done this interview at the restaurant, and we could have been breaking bread together, and we weren't able to.
Right.
But absolutely, I do appreciate that, and I'm honored to be considered as a close family friend, and that's wonderful. Appreciate you sharing that. Appreciate you being on the show. If you can kind of put a bow on the statement here, and leave our audience with a message to inspire them to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, what would you tell that person? Someone who has it in their heart, they just are maybe afraid to get started. What would you tell them?
Well, the most important thing is, believe it in your mind, your body, your soul, and give it everything you have, right? And learn to make adjustments along the way. I mean, it's not, your plan is your plan, but sometimes you have to adjust your plan but your ultimate goal is what you want to be. You can achieve it, and you've it many times, and whether it's through academics or through strength and through athletics, whatever. But you know what? You have your goal, have your mind. My father's goal was never to be hungry again. Think about that. And he opens up a restaurant. I mean, who would have thought? It was very simple goals in life, and everything else would fall into place. So, I mean, it is. And it's today's world. It seems like everything is wide open for everybody. So, yeah, give it a shot. You know what? Give it everything you have, your mind, your body, your soul to it. And you know what? The Lord will put you in the right path, and you'll end up where you need to be. So that's the way to be. And I tried it with my son. I said, you sure we want to be in the restaurant business? You're sure you don't want to be with the Buffalo Bills working up in the office there? No, Dad, I want to join the family. I said, oh, God bless. Okay, this is what it is. So, the paths are, we try to guide him down one path. He wanted his path. And that's kind of, we all do with all our family and our kids and our friends. We suggest, give it everything you got,
Yeah. He was connected so much to that thought of, I'm not going to go hungry again and serve other people so they have great food to eat. I think that's the key too, is like you said, get started, go, believe in yourself, take action. But when there's something that's so important that you're not going to let anything get in the way of that. Everyone's thing is different. For your dad, it was hunger. And then he's restaurant, which is fantastic. Like, just an incredible story. Everyone has a little thing. What's hunger for you, right? So I think that's great, a phenomenal takeaway from this episode. I'm grateful that you're here. I think everyone that's tuning in, this is something that I thought about when we're talking about food. Now I'm hungry, by the way. Thank you very much.
There you go.
What is your favorite dish on the menu?
The veal parmesan. Our number one seller is lasagna, but you know what? I don't get to eat it all the time. But I mean, it's when I do get to sit down with the family, go, let's get the veal parmesan. So yeah, that's we love that. It's awesome. So, but another quick note as I'm thinking here, we're on YouTube then too. But also, if you can go to Ilio DiPaolo's and look up Ilio DiPaolo's on YouTube, we have about 30 wrestling matches of my father, along with different commercials and different things going on there. That is pretty cool. So it brings back the kids. I know I show my grandkids. I go, here's popular real wrestling. But where's the color? Because it's all black and white, the matches. You'll really get the experience, and I know you get a kick out of them, Mike, kind of growing up in that era. Just as
I'm going to tell you, I didn't watch all 30 of them, but I've been on there watching them in the past. Actually, when Jonathan connected us, the first thing I did was I went back and watched some of your dad's matches. So
yeah, pretty cool. Thank you.
This is fantastic. I wish we had more time. I'm going to come in and hang out. Love what you guys do in the community, giving, what you do at the restaurant as far as making everyone feel like family. And then you guys deliver with the fantastic quality of your food. 55 years and many, many more great years. Dennis DiPaolo, thank you so much for being here.
An honor to be on your show. Thanks again, Mike. Appreciate it. Look forward to meeting your father at the restaurant.
Yes, I'll bring him in. Grazie.
All right. Ciao. Prego. Ciao. Ciao.
I love you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. Check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKEDuppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.